talk about number systems. The SLC is a decimal based PLC, so we're not exposed actually to number systems perhaps as some of the Japanese PLCs, which are octal and hexadecimal based. I've got a few of the data files open here. We've got the binary data file, integer data file and a floating point data file. I'll just go through a few examples of displaying number systems. There's a handy tool in the data file dialog called the radix, which is actually the conversion of the base. So we can see here that we have some data in our binary file, 1, 1, 0 and so on. Now, because it's a binary file, it's not necessarily important to us to display it in any other way because it is used as bit data. However, we can display it in another format. So if we click down, say, to decimal format, we can see the equivalent of that binary file in decimal numbers. We can also display it in hexadecimal, octal and back to binary. Now, as I pointed out, it's not much use to us to convert the binary data file to another number system. However, it is useful in integer files and the like. There may be times that we need to know the number base in another system in the integer file. Here we have highlighted the maximum number you can put into a 16-bit word, 32,767. Let's have a look at that in hex. There we have the hex number, 32,767 in hex. Let's have a look at it in octal, 77777 in octal. In binary, all ones. You'll notice the last bit is left out because it's a signed bit. Let's go back to decimal. We can see some negative numbers here. Again back in hex. So that's a handy tool to quickly convert numbers using, perhaps you could enter it into the decimal system here, put something in here, a decimal number that you know, 255 say, and then convert it to hex. There we go, FF. So that's a pretty handy little tool. You'll notice that the radix is grayed out in the floating point file because we cannot change the radix to a different number because it's decimal point or floating point. Another way of converting to a different number system is to use a scientific calculator that's part of Windows. It's found on the Start button under Accessories, and you can change the view from standard to scientific if you like. I find this a pretty handy tool, and it's a bit tedious sometimes converting the number system to the desired base, and the calculator there is pretty handy. I guess the programmers of the late 80s, before Windows had these sorts of features, would have been glad to see this today. We have a number here, 255 in decimal, so all I need to do is put in my decimal number and press any one of these buttons to convert it to the base I require. So 255 in decimal is FF, in octal 377, in binary 8 ones. So there's another trick to converting bases of number systems, so also a handy tool. And that's it for numbers.